Warm weather evening. I'll start our meeting this evening by reading our mission statement. New Philadelphia City Schools will provide all students the opportunity to achieve their highest potential, to become educated, self-sufficient, and responsible citizens. We are committed to providing every student a diverse, quality education within a safe and secure environment through a dedicated, innovative, and highly qualified staff in partnership with parents and the community at large. If you'll stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, Julie, if you call the roll.
Mr. France?
Present.
Dr. Fuller's absent. Mr. Galantine?
Present.
Mr. McMath?
Here.
Mr. Weaver?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Do I have a recommendation to approve the agenda of the regular Board of Education meeting?
So moved.
Mr. France, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Galantine. Any additions or deletions? Call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting dated May 8th, 2023, and the work session dated May 23rd, 2023?
So moved.
Mr. Weaver, and a second?
I'll second that also.
Galantine. Any questions, changes, clarifications? Call the roll.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Amy?
All right, recognition tonight, and Mr. Williams is going to.
Yeah, so we got two different groups. So a lot of times we honor athletes here. And so for the summer, I thought we'd honor some kids who are doing some different things, right? So I'll start with our 5 students who did our pre-apprenticeship program this year. Obviously, not every student is destined for college. Not every student is a test taker, right? So the state allows us different avenues to get students to graduation. And so Mrs. Claxon did an outstanding job of identifying 5 students this year who could work on one of those alternative pathways. So we had 5 students, Elena Brown, Pablo Pelico Rojo, Morgan Garabrandt, Caroline Bucklew, and Christian Sika Mejia, who put their all into our hospitality and tourism program. And what they had to do was they had to visit 6 different entities in the area, in the region, that serviced hospitality and tourism. I think they went to Park Street Pizza for a whole day, found out the operation, went and observed hotels. There's great video of them. They learned to make beds, which most of them had said they'd never even done in their own homes, which my daughter doesn't even make her own bed. But just, the tight, the way we make beds, and just some great experiences like that. Mrs. Claxon took them on all these trips and did a great job of working with these students. And then at the end of this whole program, they take what's called the Work Keys exam. And this is a test built for them to test them on the real life things that they're gonna learn, right? Balancing a checkbook, just working on paperwork things that, that they could use in their future. Because not every kid is gonna memorize geometry and calculus and government. So these 5 kids did all the requirements and they earned their high school diploma through this program, which I thought was amazing. So we were very proud of them. This is our inaugural, our first class of this. And Mr. Range has said that he's gonna keep this program going. He's very excited about it. So we're really excited to find more alternative pathways for our kids to motivate them towards graduation. So those are those 5 students. So I wanted to make sure we recognize them. In attendance tonight is a really good athlete too on the side. So if Zach can come up here, please. I got a tremendously awesome email. Go ahead and stand up here. Just be seen, Zach. Okay. I got a great email in January from Zach asking permission to build 2 take a book, leave a book boxes for our district. And in this day and age of communication and like I'll reference my own daughter, right? Kids are not always the greatest communicators. Zach, just so polite, professional. Mr. Williams, what can I do to get this project off the ground? He's an Eagle Scout, and this was is it your final project for your Eagle Scout? And he chose to contribute and give back to New Philadelphia City Schools. So Zach planned this, raised money for this, built them, and installed them. And did that all over from January till, what was the day you installed them, Zach?
I believe it to be June 4th,
Yeah.
something around there.
And he had to work with Ms. Reed at Central and Mrs. France at South to organize this whole thing. So through the whole process, Zach kept me updated on every step. It wasn't just, can I do this? And then he didn't talk to me till the end. It was constant communication, which I loved. And just polite and professional. And a couple times he came in to see me for signatures. When he left, he doesn't know this, I'm gonna embarrass him, but all the ladies out here, what a nice young man. Where's he from? He's from our high school. So we got great kids at our high school, just so polite, such a nice young guy. So I wanted to honor him tonight and make sure that he's recognized for giving back to the school system and just being one of our great students. He'll be a senior this year, so I don't know if he has plans yet. Would you like to share with us? Do you have any plans yet?
I'm at Buckeye right now to be a utility lineman, so my plans are after high school, I'm gonna go straight to work and start working.
Yeah, he's gonna be successful at it, I know.
Great
So we have a certificate for Zach, just thanking him for his hard work, and we'll keep up watching kids and everything. So thank you, Zach.
All right. Thanks, Zach, and congratulations to all the students that completed the apprenticeship program as well. Wonderful program. No public participation this evening. Treasurer's report.
So before I start my report, there are two things that I wanted to bring to or discuss a little bit. First of all, at our last meeting, the question came up about fingerprinting for volunteers. So I did go and get some information for everyone so that you're aware. Our volunteers have to get BCI fingerprinting only. They don't need the FBI. We charge $22 for fingerprinting for a 5-year period. So if they do that in kindergarten, that covers them until 4th grade. At 5th grade, they would have to get an additional fingerprinting. Anyone working with children in our district should be fingerprinting. And that means if you go into a classroom and work with a whole class or class party, things like that. But if you're a parent coming in, for example, for donuts for dads, that's a parent function and they wouldn't require fingerprinting. We did check our local charges with other districts. Buckeye Career Center charges $25 and the ESC charges $32. So we don't open our fingerprinting up at New Philly to the general public. We keep it to people who intend to work in the district or volunteer in the district. And when we started fingerprinting, that's basically what we discussed, is keeping it local, at least for the time being. So does anybody have any questions about it? No?
The BCC and ESC, those are for 5 years too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The fingerprinting system goes through the state of Ohio, so they have the exact same system. And the state provides us the equipment to do it. Actually, you have to use their equipment and you can't commingle any education in with that laptop. It has to be just for fingerprinting.
And we don't make any money from the fingerprints of the volunteers.
Right, because
That's just our
we,
expense.
yes, you're correct. We pay $22 for BCI, we charge $22. The $32 that Buckeye, or the ESC charges has a $10 upcharge, and you are allowed to do an upcharge on it. So that was my first thing I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of. The second thing is, of course, in June, the biennium budget came out from the governor, and we did get to move our calculations to fiscal year 22, which is a good thing. We were at fiscal year 19 prior to this. And they moved our per pupil dollar value to $8,240. So if you remember back in, I believe it was 18, that per pupil charge was $6,200. So from 18 to now, they have moved the mark and increased it. However, the one thing the board needs to keep in mind is when they give us that per pupil number, that's a shared value between what they call local and state. So the local portion is what has to be covered by our real estate taxes. So, and I haven't calculated what that is. Prior to this biennium budget, it was about 46% local and the balance was state. And then the additional thing that you need to know is we did get simulations, which I'll send out to you. That increases our budgets by about 1.4 million for 2024. However, the simulations didn't include special education transportation or preschool education funding. So there are some additional calculations there. I'm going to attend a webinar tomorrow about the whole thing, but I wanted to make sure it was discussed here so that it's very transparent and everybody's aware. Any questions on that before I move on? Okay. So in your folder, you have June 2023 financial statements. You have the key indicator, the cash flow, and the check register. All numbers are in balance to the bank and reconciled. You have QDA financial reports and QPA financial reports. And remember that as the sponsor school district, we're responsible for reviewing those. You do have the bank reconciliation, and it shows any reconciling differences from our book. Letter H is the approval of the Coca-Cola consolidated contract. We are switching from Coca-Cola to Pepsi, and that transition should be done by 8/1.
Pepsi, other way.
Sorry, I said it backwards. From Pepsi to Coke, that transition should be done by 8/1. I have the second installment on our liability insurance, and then the 12,000 on letter J is covering 764 State Route 416. They have not taken off 915 South Broadway yet, so I will have probably a reduction for you to approve, just so that everything is shown on the board agenda. I have an approval from the VFW to pay off the food service account balances. They do this donation. They've done it every year for, I think, 19, and then I don't think they did it for 20 or 21 because of COVID. They did it last year, and they're then again this year. And then I have a donation from Zach Rothrock, who's here with us this evening. He had a balance of the remaining funds for his Eagle Scout project that he donated back, and we placed it in our library fund so they can buy additional books.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
I'm asking you to approve 2 additional extended days for Heidi Briggs and Jill Swinderman so that they can complete their year. Both of them actually get 15 days extended days, and in order to get their year closed, they requested 2 more days. And then the advance that we're moving back is the year-end advance I had to do last month. So we're just returning those funds back to the general fund.
Do I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Mr. France, second.
Second.
Weaver. Questions, comments for Julie?
I do have a question just related to the new budget and what's approved in the simulations. I understand you need to go through more detail, but as far as updating 5-year forecast and when we will see that, because we can't anticipate anything, right? So we'll update 5-year forecast?
Yes, so the forecast needs updated. Actually, because it has to be adopted by October, I'm going to try to bring one to you in September to update and have it so that I don't have to do one for August and one for October again.
Okay,
So I'll try to have it in August. I would also like to have the time to go through it with Mrs. Wentworth.
sure, okay. But that should make a nice difference for us, right? compared to
Will,
forecast.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? All right, call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
We have several personnel issues, a couple resignations here to approve. I'm asking for the approval of Lisa Watson as our multi-county administrative assistant. This is a new position prior to this year that the roles and duties that she will be fulfilling were done by a teacher. And so we are better utilizing our teaching staff in educational purposes as opposed to administrative things. And we are going to approve that job description tonight as well, I hope. Some summer school, summer worker additions for both session 1 and session 2 as listed. A couple supplementals that we need to add. Notice we are approving, or I'm asking you to approve Kevin Cornell and Jill Swinderman as our activities managers, splitting that role between fall and winter, and this is to replace the position that Ed Marsh previously held. So they will ask for that approval for next year. We are starting our substitute teacher list and substitute bus driver list, which is great. And we are also getting a head start on the myriad of volunteers that work with us each year that we are so grateful for and do such a great job. So asking for all these personnel items to be approved.
Do I have a motion for that? To approve them?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Nope. Call the roll.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine? Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the 3-year contract extension for Amy Wentworth, superintendent? Then we'll make comments or whatever.
Move.
Mr. France, one. Second?
Second.
Mr. Weaver. Any comments or anything?
I had a few. I know there's not a big crowd here, but I think it's worth highlighting a few things. Just from my perspective, I'm very supportive of extending. And I think I would just say very positive direction under Mrs. Wentworth's leadership here. And if you picture kind of initial goals coming into the role with trying to restore relationships and build unity, build trust, and do some repair work, that's not something that happened overnight, and it's not something that's fixed overnight, but I would say progress-wise, I believe we're going in a positive direction from that standpoint. The idea of building chemistry with our admin team, I think that's been accomplished, and just connecting with staff and community, I think there's been a genuine effort to do that also. I would say with any organization, the leadership role is easy to find fault with, especially when you've got a community like ours with a bunch of diverse needs and people have different opinions about how things should be done. You've got things that are moving on you all the time, from mandates and legislation to politics, and whatever that has done to our schools makes that a more challenging job. And I would just say, while it's hard to find perfection, that I would highlight progress over perfection. I'm not sure perfection is a attainable goal when you've got as many different opinions that go into this. But as far as trying to achieve our mission and do that in a principled way, I think Mrs. Wentworth has done a good job with that. And I think if you picture where we're positioned to go the next 3 years, highlighting and finalizing a 5-year strategic plan, which was put into place that we are just starting the initial phases of. You deal with a communication plan that's being made a priority to try to improve communication in a variety of media. It's challenging, but I think there's a commitment on that front. And then just the facilities plan. I mean, we have a major need in this community to support education with a facilities framework that can be supported by the community, but is needed. And I think all of those things to have started with an emphasis on safety, education, to me, we're making really good progress. And it would be wise for the district and for our community for us to have continued leadership on that front. It's been started and I think we're on a good track and look forward to where we're headed. So I am supportive.
Well said. Well said. I have some additional things as well. I think Amy's done a really good job of stepping into this role, learning, growing to lead every day, day in and day out. I think through the strategic plan that Chris mentioned, I think that we have identified areas of growth. Teams are in place, progress is being made in those. And Amy, you've led that. I think that you have shown a really good strength in leading through some difficult decisions that have had to be made. I know that we talk about often your goals for academics and the growth that we want there. And I know that we've achieved some of those this year, but that there are so many more that we want to lead our team with. And so I think that that's great. I think that those are all measurable things that are good. Sometimes what's more difficult to measure is culture. And so I echo Chris's sentiment, and I do think that there has been a culture shift to one that is empowering our leaders, our teachers, everyone that is in a district to do their job, giving them the resources. I've seen that. I've seen you work very hard to believe in them, and I think that that's great. I've seen you demonstrate grace in mistakes, which is often difficult. And I've seen you have the humility to walk into a classroom and say, we were wrong. We did this wrong. And I think that those are very important things for us as a district to embrace and to do. Looking forward to new challenges and new things. There are a lot of new things with our facilities, continued goals that we have. I feel very confident in continuing with Amy being here and leading this district through those things. I've seen a great willingness to grow, a willingness to, at least with us and with the people that you lead, to say, hey, I may be wrong in this. Tell me if you think I'm wrong in this, you know? And I think that that's rare to have. And so I appreciate that very much. And so I definitely approve of this extension as well. Anyone else? Barry? Yep. Call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine? Yes. Mr. Math?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That put all of our administrative staff up to,
We have now renewed all of our administrative staff to the extent that we can.
okay, super. Thank you.
That was one of the things that we as a board felt was important to, that's why we waited to extend Amy, was we felt like it was very important for her to look at her team, evaluate her team, and go through that process with them first. And so doing this is one of the most important things that we do as a board. And so superintendent, treasurer, and so we felt like it was very appropriate to do it in that order. Committee reports.
The Business Advisory Council has not met since our last meeting, but again, those minutes and reports are available online. Facilities?
Facilities Committee, we meet this week.
Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, we haven't met yet. I did see in there, it looks at least from Mr. Haney's notes that the high school project is continuing to move along.
The high school project is on track, on time, and no major surprises at this point. We anticipate that we will have that done in ample time for school to start and be painted and cleaned and all of that good stuff. So there's not a lot of wiggle room with that, but we think if there was going to be a big delay, it would have been identified at this point. So kudos to Mr. Haney. He has really worked hard to make sure it stays on track in the midst of having some difficult situations at home to deal with as well.
Buses will probably be moved soon?
Buses should be moved this week, I believe. The fencing is done at the new building. I had conversations this morning and we need to get them moved so we can get the electric up and get the lighting up. Those are really the last two things. Offices are mostly moved. Transportation is completely down there.
Okay.
At this point, maintenance is, we're getting there. So that transition, they asked today, we had a conversation about it, and I said, let's have it completely done by the end of this month so that we don't have to worry about that, and we should be on track to do that as well.
And that's going to free up some space in this building for our tech people
Yes.
to
Yes.
have an actual place to land and do your work and whatnot.
And so tech has already moved, that back corner was always full of boxes, that's already been moved to transportation. The tech sitting around this side is all waiting for the recycler to come and get it, which should happen very quickly. I think they've been called, we're waiting on them to pick it up. And those are new cases that just came in that were already here, and we're not gonna move them down to move them right back out again. But yes, our intention is to make this a meeting space and not a storage space. And lastly, Safety Committee, while the committee has not met, I do have a couple updates. First of all, we are working on a safety procedures brochure that will be posted to the web and available that generally outlines the many safety procedures and protocols in general that the district does, which I think will be very useful to parents and the community who wonder, what do we do to keep our students and staff safe? In addition, I've already had conversation with our new police chief, Tessa Pahovy, about setting up a meeting with the new school resource officer. If you remember, Officer Horner retired at the end of last school year, so we have a new resource officer. So the chief and I are going to sit down with that resource officer to discuss expectations and schedules, and then just a general meeting to discuss how she can be involved with our safety procedures and protocols going forward. So that is all coming here in the next few weeks.
Thank you. Assistant Superintendent?
Nothing tonight.
Nothing today. Superintendent's report.
All right, just a couple items. I am going to ask that you approve the job description for the multi-county administrative assistant position that we hired here tonight. It is based on a typical building secretary's role with a couple additional items due to the nature of that position. And also approve the University of Akron student teaching agreement. This is just a blanket agreement that allows us the possibility of utilizing our staff in our buildings for student teachers of Akron should they wish to come, and would have teachers that would want to support them.
Do I have a motion to approve the superintendent's report?
So moved.
Mr. Weaver, second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Gallantuin. Any questions or anything? All right, call the roll.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Gallantuin? Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I have a motion to adjourn.
In the absence of Dr. Fuller, I will move.
And a second?
Adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Weaver. We're good, thank you.